Kick Action Media presents Where No Pod Has Gone Before.
Welcome, we're back. We're finally back. Where No Pod Has Gone Before has returned for all 5 of you fans out there. This is Farcissist. I am with my lovely partner of, 24 years? 24? Well, married 24. Mm-hmm. This is Laurie, everybody. Say hi to Laurie. Laurie, the world.
Hello.
We're going to be talking about Discovery, and we're going to talk about some other things, but I think most importantly, I just wanted to give some updates to people out there. We have been off for about a month at least, just because Argyle has moved to another state, so that kind of put some wrinkles in our plans here at the podcast. It's not stopping us. It's just he's going to get some equipment of his own, and he will join in through call-in, or we can Skype each other and keep the podcast going from here. So it's one of those things where just, life gets in the way. What is it? Life happens when you're making plans. Something like that. That's a John Lennon quote, I think. Life happens while you're making plans. So anyway, he's going to be back. He is going to speak with his wife as well, and I think they're going to give us a recording of some of the things that they talk about with in regards to Discovery. Discovery is controversial for Star Trek fans and basically just sci-fi fans also, just because I don't know why so much hate toward it. We'll get into it. But let's just finish off with some of the news. I wanted to jump into it so bad, but I wanted to kind of do some office work here, just kind of tidying up for the show. But also, I've been sick, just have some ulcers and stuff, and I whammed my foot when I was riding my bike, and that turned into a big yucky thing because I was getting a fever and everything, and I was worried. So I was kind of out of it for a couple of weeks as well. So that's an update for all of you out there who are wondering what is going on with this podcast. They were going so well, and then all of a sudden there's nothing. Now there is something. So here we go. Laurie has been my wife of 24 years, but we've known each other 5-6 years before that, something like that.
Probably a little over 30.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Okay.
Barely, maybe.
Now everybody out there is going, okay, why are you talking to your wife? This is Star Trek. Well, Laurie, you're a Star Trek fan. I mean, you like Star Trek.
Yeah. I obviously, I probably wouldn't call myself a fan in the sense of I probably wouldn't. I would go to a convention, but I probably wouldn't dress up.
You've been to a convention, right?
Yes, I have.
You've been to a couple of conventions.
Yes.
Did it feel weird?
No, they're fun. They're interesting. They're like a whole thing removed from my life, I think, in a lot of ways.
So I didn't drag you. I didn't drag you.
Not totally.
Okay.
I might not have chosen to go on my own. Yeah. I was a big fan of the original series. I don't even remember how I started watching that, though. I think it was like in early grade school, after school type TV watch, I think so. Yeah. I loved the original series, and that's pretty much was my main Star Trek that I knew.
Yeah. What got you? I mean, so you saw the series. Was there anything that kind of stuck out to you that was like, ooh, this is something to kind of grab onto a little bit, or was just something that was always there?
I think my mom was a big fan.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't remember exactly how I started watching it, honestly. I just remember seeing it as a young kid. I was very enamored of Captain Kirk. I don't know, as a 5-year-old, whatever, I just liked him a lot. But I think it was probably definitely influential in my love of science fiction and fantasy. Definitely, yeah. Now,
you're well, gosh, I mean, I know you read a ton. Mm-hmm. I mean, now did you first like science fiction and then branch it out from there, or was it you liked other stories but then science fiction started coming in and kind of took over? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think I was always kind of a dreamy kid who lived in my own world anyway. And I think that definitely that's things of science fiction and fantasy are removed from this world. I think I'm a little bit more probably now into fantasy, but I started more with the science fiction. I know that in not grade school, but like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I started reading, a lot of very bad Bradbury and Isaac Asimov and stuff like that. That was my first science fiction was definitely my first introduction into all things fantasy, I would say. Yeah.
Wow. So even all literature too. Your preference was pretty much fantasy. Or science fiction.
It started science fiction. I started reading fantasy, and I still like science fiction. Definitely. I mean, you know me. I like all the everything to do with fantasy, science fiction, comic book type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then comic books. I mean, I'm a huge you know
a lot more than I do, but I know more than most women my age should know.
Actually, we talked to a guy last week. Tom, if you're out there, hi. He actually said, boy, your wife is really tuned into all that stuff, the comic book stuff, because we were talking about, the Marvel universe on screen and stuff like that. And it's a great it's a great day. It's a great time to be alive I don't want to even call myself a geek or a nerd, because that's not really what we are. It's just, we just love fantasy.
Beings.
Yeah. No. But yeah, it's I don't know. There's nothing weird about it, because I think there's just so many different types of literature for different people. And speaking of that, like my favorite movies right now, and we were talking about this on the car ride over here, like your favorite movies right now that are made today aren't even romantic comedies or anything, because I don't think Hollywood knows how to do that anymore.
It's definitely not the golden age for that. I've never been a huge chick flick person. I do like a well-made, romantic comedy, I guess, but that's not really happening, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that we have someone who we're close to who is poo-pooing a lot of the Marvel movies right now and saying that they're formulaic and that they're getting old.
We might hear from him, yeah.
And I guess I right now, having been a fan and loved that kind of stuff my whole life, and all the horrible movies that came out in the 80s that were trying to do fantasy and science fiction, that we would never see any of that. So it just feels very like, wow, this is so cool to actually see it done with good actors and with big budgets and everything, that I think people are spoiled.
Oh, they are totally in this day and age. And, that kind of gets me back to Star Trek now, because Star Trek, when I grew up, it's always been there since I've been alive. Mm-hmm. So you see it going through its different permutations and different, just different permutations and realities and stuff with each series coming up. And I always felt that Star Trek kind of needed a kick in the butt, a little shot in the arm, something. I made a commentary on one of the Discovery message boards lately when they interviewed the Sonequa Martin Green. Correct my names if I get them wrong, but she was on after the last episode here. And, just to give you a timeline, we finished season 2 of Discovery. So the last episode just showed, 2 nights ago, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So that episode, I think, Such Sweet Sorrow Part 2. So that got all finished. So what was I talking about? Oh, yeah.
Where am I?
So anyway, in that message board, I said it's so nice to have a character like her feel her feelings on her sleeve. I love that. And I think that's what the franchise needed, a character that felt and had emotion instead of, I don't know, there was almost a deferment of emotion that just kind of said, well, the science is more important than the emotion. And that's what sometimes killed it for me, at least dramatically,
Yeah, I think someone who feels very deeply, who's very capable, but who it makes everything very present and very real. I think sometimes she feels everything very. She's not so far removed from it that it's not affecting her. Which, I guess there's always been a lot of drama in the Star Trek.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I what some people have not liked about the same exact thing, have not liked that she's so emotional and everything. I do. I think it makes her really accessible and just you care about what she cares about.
Well, that's what, and when I said on the message boards, and then some guy said, well, what about Captain Kirk? And I was like, exactly. We got to get it back to that a little bit.
Yeah.
To where, there's blood and guts and flesh and bone going on here. These aren't just museum pieces of characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think both of us are at to comment totally on this are a little bit at a disadvantage in the sense that we were not. I did watch The Next Generation. I didn't watch it like a rabid fan.
Yeah, you watched it more than I did.
Yeah, I know more about it than you do. Yeah, but I did watch it, and I have seen pretty much every, for the most part, every month. But I haven't ever seen Deep Space Nine. I haven't ever seen what was the other one?
Voyager.
And I know that those are the ones that a lot of people are referring to when they think of Star Trek. They do, and we think of the original series.
Yeah.
So, I know that The Next Generation was a lot different than the original series, and a lot of people were really angry about that when it first came out because it was so much of a departure from Star Trek. So I don't know.
So we come up to Discovery. Discovery is here. And we saw both seasons. We're all caught up now. We are basically. I'm going to give a warning out there for everybody. And I hate doing this because I think it's ridiculous and I think it's unnecessary. But if you haven't seen it all and you get bothered by spoilers, number one, I feel sorry for you. But number two.
A little dramatic.
But number two, it's a spoiler alert, spoiler warning. We're going to be talking about parts of the series that have already come to pass for us. And then, I don't know. I just remember the day when people were talking about Jaws, and I hadn't seen Jaws yet. But they were talking about when Captain Quint gets killed, Robert Shaw.
Spoiler! Oh, no, you
ruined it for Jaws
he died.
Oh, man, that's it. But
good job.
Still, you have to see it. Though, oh, that's right. I got a spoiler alert. That one. Yeah, a movie that's 40-some years old. But anyway, I have to say that, if you get bothered by spoilers, I shouldn't say I feel sorry for you. I just, I was in the day where people talked about Star Wars and I was still blown away, still trying to watch that movie.
Yeah.
Hadn't seen it yet, but everyone's talking about there's this walking monkey, there's this go crazy, Death Star is a big planet. Whatever.
I spoiled that Luke's father was to somebody.
Did you really?
So everybody already knows that Darth Vader is Luke's father, and they're like, I didn't know.
Okay, so maybe spoilers might be a little more.
Spoilers. Yeah, I've never been bothered by spoilers. I don't do it as much as I did when I was younger, but I used to read the end of books. I don't know. Yeah. It's like it would engage me enough to make me want to finish it and get there.
I know.
Something.
Exactly. And I'm kind of in that mood right now. I've been an Avengers fan all my life. I collect Avengers comics, right? Now, I know the Russo brothers, like last week, put out a thing saying, hey, everybody, don't spoil the movie for others, blah, 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 a big statement. And everyone's championing that. That's fine. But if you're an Avengers fan, as I am, time travel has a lot to do with the Avengers throughout their whole issues. Almost every issue has some kind of a time travel. So, time travel is going to be a part of it. I'm just saying. I'm laying my gauntlet down and saying time travel is going to be there in some way or another. I'm just sticking my head out there, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but there you go. That's my spoiler. I haven't even seen it, but I can only assume because, there are so many issues where the Vision and Thor and Iron Man flew through time and, went to the different time periods to correct stuff. So they did that, okay?
It's a thing.
Just deal with it. But that's the fun part of being a science fiction, fantasy, comic book fan is that you can conjecture like crazy and still be surprised.
Be surprised,
and
yeah.
still suspend your disbelief. So that's what I like about being this kind of a fan, because you're steps and miles above the typical drivel of humanity that lives on this earth. No,
A little elitist.
no. But anyway, what were you going to say?
I don't know. Nothing. I was going to say, which I won't repeat here, but I didn't know if you'd heard people talking about the Ant-Man, what they think would be the Ant-Man solution, the spoiler that he was going to do. But
What, really? What was the spoiler?
It's
Just
ridiculous. It's everyone's talking about how he's going to shrink down and go.
No, whatever you put forth is not
you
as
can
ridiculous
take it,
as you think.
A fly up of Thanos's butt and
Thanos's
explode.
anus.
That's everyone's talking about. That's so stupid.
Okay.
That might work though.
There was an Avengers issue that talked about him doing that, but
Really?
pleasuring somebody. Yeah, I won't go there.
No,
yeah,
good.
it's ridiculous.
That's not comic
yeah,
book material.
That's where I left.
Okay.
And it wasn't, to be honest, it wasn't the original issues arc. It was the new revamped issues, and it's ridiculous. That's why I kind of left.
There's so much soap opera and
some people like to
storylines.
overwrite, but I'll leave it at that.
Anyway, back to Discovery.
Thanos' Anos.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know that one.
Yes, I've been reading that all over the place.
Yikes.
That's ridiculous.
Going inside of him and then
and then like
tricking him.
Getting big and
just
like
blowing him up
there. Like becoming giant or whatever.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one one way to do it. That is truly an end game. Thank you.
A grisly ending. But yeah.
All right, we're okay.
Stupid anyway.
Talking about Discovery, I know all the spoilers and stuff, but I'll try to keep it, as much, away from all that, because I do. If the more you enjoy this show, I think the better it is, obviously. But there's so many things to enjoy. That's why I wanted to get to, just from the sets and everything. I mean, obviously everyone's talked about it. I think that this show was kind of created with a female perspective. I know we were talking about this a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that it was kind of created with that. I mean, obviously you have Michael Burnham, for all intents and purposes, since she's the first name up there on the credits, I mean, she's the main character.
She's the main focus.
And it's not on a captain. And it's not, even though, the stories revolve around this cast of characters.
I still see it as an ensemble, definitely. But she's in every storyline, basically.
What do you think of I had a kind of maybe I'm an old man. Maybe I am.
Sorry, but that might be true.
But what about, I kind of put this forth in saying that maybe this one was created with a female point of view because it's more emotional. Am I going to get in trouble by saying that? Or it's more heartfelt?
With some you might. I don't know, maybe heartfelt. Or I think that...
or good reaction shots on her.
That most of
She's great with that, anyway.
I from what I do know, which I'm sure I will be corrected, most of the Star Treks have been an ensemble cast, but mostly have been from more of a male perspective. Probably.
That's what I would think.
Maybe the Jane.
Janeway?
Janeway.
Yeah.
Not as much. Again, unfortunately, I can't really comment on that since I haven't seen it.
But she's got more masculine qualities in a certain way.
Oh,
I think she's good looking. Hey,
No, I meant because she's like
but not
direct.
That good looking.
And,
Don't
never
hit
mind.
Me. Never mind. I got a back step.
No, I don't know. I think it is approaching it from just a different perspective, and from maybe someone who is very capable but very, very heartfelt and very, very she feels things very deeply and things matter to her very much, and that can be both good and bad. I mean, she feels like she takes everything on like it's her job to fix and to which is not necessarily a good thing, but produces some good things sometimes. But it,
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, the reason why I was thinking in that vein, too, is that, the first episodes, I mean, we see her trying to Tilly wants to get along with her, her roommate, basically. But it is from a female perspective because two females are bunking together, and just those things where when you were a little kid or when you were a little girl, how hard it was to be introduced to someone new. Just someone new, like if you were at camp or if you're at college. And all of a sudden you have to dorm together.
Yeah.
Or if you're just making new friends or something, it's a very human experience to experience a different personality outside of your family for the first time. So, I mean, they touch on that a lot.
So different, yeah.
I think that's interesting that, they do it in a female perspective. Males go through that still, too. I understand that. But I think just from her being a female, I think they touched on something there, at least. I think the writers made a conscious choice to do that, and I thought it was very smart of them to do that.
Yeah.
Because, obviously we've seen men do it a lot, go through these verisimilitude moments where it happens to everybody.
Yeah.
This kind of experience happens to everybody. So anyway, just taking it from her perspective, I think it was very cool. And she wasn't an outstanding character herself. She had stuff to hide. Mm-hmm. And we understood that.
Well, she excels at everything she does, but yeah, she's very lives inside her own head. I think, and I don't know where I'm going with that exactly, but I think that
but I think a lot of people have something to touch on with that.
Yeah.
It resonates with people because obviously that's a thing. Even though the quiet person is always bashful, they've got a world of different experiences that they can share with other people if you just unlock the right thing.
Right.
But anyway, so I'm not weird or outmoded or too much of an old man to say that I think I could kind of see that it was from a female perspective.
I think it's from a female perspective more. I think so, and I'm not sure how I would even put that into words. What makes it. I do think that they may have made that as a conscious choice, possibly because of the times we're in. But it's. I don't think it's uncalled for though, because Star Trek has always been about diversity and seeing things through others' eyes or seeing things from a different perspective. And opening up new worlds. And I certainly don't think it's outside of the realm of how it's always been done. So. Yeah. I don't know. I really have enjoyed this series a lot more than I ever, I hadn't really thought about it, to be perfectly honest, about watching this new one. And I had heard some bad. Man.
Yeah.
So I didn't really think about it either way.
That was the same thing with me. I mean, I remember when they said they were going to propose it and then they were producing it and everything and it's going to star as such and so and blah, blah, blah. And, at first I wasn't interested, even though I was a Star Trek fan. I just wasn't interested, and I think it went back to the simple fact that it was behind a paywall.
Yeah,
I think that really turned me off.
Everybody. That I read a lot of, which is I don't know why I think I like to be annoyed all the time or something, but I read a lot of. Negative comment just to see what exactly people are commenting on and why they don't like something. And that is one of the many, a lot of people are very put out that Star Trek should be for everyone,
Yeah. They do have a couple cuss words, so there's a reason why.
I
thought that was kind of funny, having some of that in there.
To throw that in there and make it worth the $6 a month or whatever.
But yeah, that's what at first turned me off. And then I thought, just go into it and see. And one of the reasons that brought me to it was that just some of the effects looked really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, like movie quality effects. And so it's like, well, let's take a look.
Lens flare.
And I remember, and you know what? I love the lens flares. I think they're awesome in this.
It looks it's very beautiful. It's darker, but it was a different, it has a different feel. But
I agree. I really agree. I think it's just much more of an adventure. I'm sorry, I'm leaning away from the mic. It's much more of an adventure, but also everything is just so cool. I mean, you have cameras that go upside down, during some of the space things and stuff. And I think it's just a nice take on it. And plus, it also kind of throws back to a couple of shots from Star Trek: The Motion Picture where we're looking over the Klingons and stuff, and we're banking around the ship and stuff. So you get a feel that space really doesn't have a top and a bottom. It's just swirly and different, and it's a cool perspective. So
it's been, I'm really looking forward to season 3. I'm really curious as to what they're going to do with.
Yeah,
they ended
because they've gone into the future now.
Yeah, 950 years.
And what is amazing to me, and those of you who haven't caught up to where we are, I mean, obviously, they explain so many things in that very last episode. Where why doesn't Spock talk about Burnham? Why doesn't Spock talk about any of this?
Some people would call it convenient, but I thought they wrapped it up pretty cleverly. Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah, I think that, and it's nice now. Well, it'll give people one less thing to complain about, but they can't. They're not going to have to deal with any kind of canon anymore, in the sense, because they are going to be so far in the future that it's going to be away from anything that's already been done.
Yeah, so you're unshackled.
Which I don't know if that was what was planned from the very beginning, but if so, bravo! Wow. They did a really nice job.
They did a great setup.
I thought they did a really nice setup for it, and it was really clever, and I thought it was so engaging. All the characters there's some that are standouts obviously to me, but I like the whole cast.
Who's just so you real quick, who's your favorite character right now?
Boy, it's really hard to pick one. That's what I really like. I like Tilly a lot, which she seems to be like
she's one of my favorites.
One of the people that people either really don't like or really do like.
Oh, really?
Because they're like, she's so obnoxious and she talks all the time. And I'm like, how many of us don't know people like that?
Yeah.
But she kind of annoyed me at first, too. But I think they fleshed her out and made her real, And I don't know. She's very heartfelt. I really, really like Saru. He's like,
I think he's my favorite.
Of my main guys. Doug Jones does such a good job with him, and you see the growth. Of course, everyone now, the second season, everybody, even the haters love Pike. Everybody loves Pike.
Oh man,
and it's really sorry to see him go, because he was just, and I don't think that's really a spoiler, because we all knew that somehow or
he turned into a gorilla. Spoiler alert.
A gorilla. That's
a cute gorilla.
Science fiction for you.
No, but he was. I mean, what Ensign? Is it Mount or Mount? I want to say Mount.
It looks like Mount, but I don't know.
Let's not put those two images together.
Anson, as I like to call him, he was. He was just so. I almost hate to say it, because it's kind of blasphemous in the Star Trek world, but he has surpassed Kirk for me as my favorite captain.
Oh, and that ties in with our last episode. We talked about captains, and you know what? That was before we even started to really understand what Anson Mount really did with Captain Pike. And I agree. I think he's my favorite captain now. I mean,
especially for how, relatively little screen time he had comparatively, even just for the season and everything. He just was so commanding, and I just loved the decisions he made.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It gave so much weight to his character, mainly because, he even saw what was going to happen to him.
Yeah.
And he had to make that choice. He
was such a quiet strength and confidence, but in a very humble kind of a way, but still being really strong. I don't know. I just really, really liked him a lot.
Yeah, they do a good job with the just fleshing that character out a little bit more, and just giving a nice bookend to what we see from the original series, and kind of throwing it back and giving a nice kudos to those guys who created that character way back when, and you kind of see him fleshed out a little bit more, and it just gives that character so much more weight. I liked what they did with was it Jason Isaacs as Lorca?
Lorca, yeah.
I liked him as a commander.
I liked him a lot.
He was a little rough, but oh man. Well, then you found out why, mirror.
Part of me, before I knew he was what he was, I kind of thought it was just interesting to see a more complex captain, that everything he did wasn't totally altruistic and totally, peace seeking
for the good
or whatever.
of everybody.
That was kind of interesting to me, because I can't, even if we are living in a more kind and better future where, we've gotten rid of all this stuff, I can't help but think that there's going to be some people in the Federation who aren't more selfish or are a little bit more that have to have an ego in order to get to where they get or whatever.
I agree.
I just thought it was a really interesting take on a captain.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and then, obviously the first captain we see in Discovery is Giorgio.
Oh, right. Yeah, Giorgio. Yeah.
Giorgio. Mm-hmm. The legendary Michelle Yeoh. Anyway, just a nice selection of characters. And that's not even scratching the surface on this, and it's 2 seasons. How many episodes a season? Maybe 15, something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, because in the old days, it was like at least 26 episodes a season. So, I mean, it's a lot less material, but gosh, you squeezed
really
in
dense.
So many great storylines and story arcs and character moves and all that stuff. It was so cool to introduce yourself to all these people. And then, at the end, what we think is going to happen is that the amount of characters are going to be narrowed down even more, because now it's
they've had
just
to leave
the Discovery
some people behind.
crew
Mm-hmm.
going off into the future. And wow, what's going to happen? I mean, there's the Red Angel thing and all that stuff.
Well, obviously,
which I thought
there's
was
something
awesome.
bad going to be in the future that they're going to have to take care of, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, being an Avengers comic book fan, time travel is very important in science fiction, everybody. I'm just going to say that right now. Just time travel.
Hopefully they won't, run into the Morlocks and the Eloi, was that?
Yeah, Eloi and the Morlocks.
Yeah, that's
Morlocks.
Hopefully that would be a kind of that. Then it might be boring.
Oh,
it
boy.
might be a little boring then.
Yeah.
What do you think defines Star Trek? Like, when I hear people say that that Star Trek Discovery is not Star Trek, what do you think defines Star Trek, and what makes something Star Trek?
Oh, I think it's totally Star Trek. I really do, because I think, guys, the title of the show is called Star Trek, guys. Jeez, stupid. No, they use Starfleet. They use the language of the whole franchise. Everything is connected to Starfleet. You have the same characters and stuff. Do some of the ships, does some of the effects look different than what we're used to? Yeah.
Well, I would say,
but gosh, it's
the complaints I've seen, they are referring to, and that's where I feel like I feel as though they're saying it's the original vision of the creator.
Yeah. Gene Roddenberry.
Gene Roddenberry, thank you. I was on the tip of my brain. That it was supposed to be a very man had come to a place where they had gotten rid of war, more or less, and that we have attained this, kind of a optimistic, good future. And that's what it was basically all about. And I feel like I see that more in the 90s series than I saw in the original series. Not that wasn't there a bit there, but I don't know. I feel like that was more emphasized, to me at least, in more of the 90s series. If you think of Picard as opposed to Kirk, how he dealt with things and how he
oh gosh,
I don't know, but a lot of people think that this one looks very dystopian in comparison to the
and then you have
what Gene Roddenberry supposedly.
Well, what is that group? Section 31?
Yeah.
I mean, just the existence of Section 31 in this. Mm-hmm. It's referred to in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yeah? I didn't know that.
As much more of a maligned group. But here, it's very subversive. It's, and I think that's cool. The franchise kind of needed that. In a way, it needed an element of danger.
Intrigue and
the human adventure. First off, when they talk about in the motion picture, human adventure is just beginning. You're dealing with humans. I mean, humans are going to get away with what they want sometimes, and they're not going to be perfect. How are you ever going to be perfect in a future like that? I don't think that's possible.
I don't either, but I think that a lot of people would like to think that is.
It would be cool.
It's the utopian thought that somehow we have, quote unquote, evolved to this point to where we are, this awesome.
Well, then they should create their own series and do that.
Gene Roddenberry already did that. They just messed it up.
So that was my other thought on, I know everyone's talking about, it's not canon. It's not canon. I call them canon cops, just harping on it. And I don't know. If that's so much of your love, then I guess go for it. But, to me, it's just been... suspend your disbelief a little bit.
That's so much of what sci-fi is about to me. Is
absolutely.
That you're taken somewhere else. And you're not supposed to have a notebook and a checklist, mental checklist of everything.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to enjoy it and be transported.
Yeah.
With a wonderful story and with awesome people and whatever.
Yeah.
Fantastical things.
I mean, if Batman can go through... different writers. Gosh, you have Dick Giordano and all those guys in the 50s and stuff. And then you have Alan Moore with his twisted Joker tale. And then you have Frank Miller with his classic take on, Batman being more of a vigilante and stuff. I mean, if you can handle stuff like that, then these characters can go through a change too, just through different points of view and different perspectives. So, the franchise can need a shot in the arm here and there. And I'm sure the next show that comes up, and I think the Picard show is coming soon.
Yeah, that might be interesting.
And
they said it's going to have a very different tone.
See, exactly. Yeah. And that's going to be a different, because it's probably a reaction from this show.
Yeah. He's an older man. He's also, I don't think he's going to be...
It's going to be like Golden Girls.
Yeah.
It'll have the same, theme song and everything.
No, that would be... He needs his own. But this is the end. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing what that's like. I guess there's some really good people in that I don't have in front of me right now, but a lot of people are excited about some of the people that are being cast in it.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's going to be really interesting.
And I don't even know what the timing is when it's coming out, but I know it's coming here pretty soon. I think it's exciting. I think, again, as we said earlier, I think it's such a golden age of... I'm also a Doctor Who fan. I'm not again, I don't think I'm ever the kind of fan that's crazy. And not that I'm calling other people crazy. I guess I can just kind of enjoy. There's things that I like just
less.
Enjoy,
and things that I like more. And I'm like, this one I don't like quite as much, but it doesn't affect my
It's not going to make or break life.
Yeah.
Really.
And there's just the same kind of thing. People have a really hard time with change, with things kind of growing or just looking a little different,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So, going to the end of it here, we're not going to see... Well, I don't think we're going to see Captain Pike or Spock or Number One or the Enterprise anymore in Discovery. Or are we, do you think?
I don't
leaves
think
it open.
So. It kind of leaves it open. I don't think so. Of course, everyone would and there's a petition going for Pike and to continue on in his own series, which I would be...
That'd be cool.
On board with.
Be cool to see.
As far as we know, we kind of know Pike's ending, unless they can find some sort of, way out of that. But I think it'd be really cool, but I don't know. I think that it feels like to me that they kind of closed the book on that and said, okay, they're going forward. And that's one reason why they're going so far forward is that they're going to be flung out into the entire unknown, in a lot of ways. So I thought that they wrapped it up really nicely.
And that's cool. Because you can only wonder what they're going to do. I mean, how crazy of a concept that is.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So we were talking about Anson Mount, and then who's Spock? Ethan
Peck.
Ethan Peck.
Yeah.
We're talking about
Peck's great, or not? Hey, just his grandson, I think. Yeah.
His grandson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were all, and since I'm an actor by trade, we were talking about their career. It's like, well, will we see him again? It'd be kind of sad, and you know.
He did. I know that he's another one that is controversial to a degree, but I really liked his portrayal. I preferred his portrayal of Spock to Zachary Quinto.
Quinto. Yeah. Quinto. Yeah. I was never. Well, yeah. I had trouble with Quinto's thing just because he doesn't make out with. Vulcans don't make it. Never mind. I know I'm a canon cop. Canon cop.
They don't do that.
They don't do that. Maybe they do. Okay.
They do something different that we don't know because it's Vulcan, but they don't do that.
But that's what's her name? I forget her name now that he made out with.
Uhura. But Zoe Saldana.
Zoe Saldana. Yeah. But that's Zoe Saldana. So I mean, if you have Vulcan blood,
him a
then
pass on that.
I guess so. So I guess anything is possible in the Star Trek universe. But I think, they're going to, obviously, they'll have a career just because, I mean, if not just being in the convention circuit alone, you know?
Gosh, yeah, you can show up and
live and die on that.
I don't know if that's a great big moneymaker or not. I wonder.
I don't know. I mean, you have your classic stars still going out, So do we want to talk about anything else, or are we pretty much wrapped up?
I don't know. I feel like I've never done one of these before, and I was worried.
No, I think
I would
good.
like pull it all over the place, which I think I kind of did.
Dude, I pull it all over the place all the time.
Everyone's like, "What?
Don't worry about it.
What? What are you talking about?
We're going over here now. Okay.
Hey,
let's go over here.
Let's talk about Doctor Who now. Wait, no, let's not.
I think in the convention circuit, gosh, they'll be fine. I think people are going to have enough appreciation for both of them because I think their performances were great.
So are you so in love with Discovery now that now all your shows are going to be centered around Discovery?
No, I think we got to bounce around and
have to watch, or I think at the very least you should watch some of the other Star Treks.
Oh yeah,
to
absolutely.
Be more fully fleshed out.
Well, this is a working man's guide to Star Trek, and,
yes.
And you folks out there are discovering it the same way I'm going to discover it. So I'm still going to watch it, and then we'll talk about new stuff that's out there. And since we do have CBS All Access now, since we're paying for it,
we would just
it's got all the other Star Treks in there
and
too.
We ended up keeping it because we liked it so much.
And it's got Twilight Zone, but this isn't a Twilight Zone show, so stop it.
But that is a science fiction fantasy sort of.
That is true, and they did a great job. We got to talk about that later. But I think those first two episodes were great.
I haven't seen any others.
Twilight Zones.
I thought they were surprisingly good. I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan, so well. Again, I would not dress up as a Twilight Zone character, but
just dress up like Rod Serling and have a smoke all the time every 5 seconds.
Only because not that I have a problem with that.
I know
it's just not me. I wouldn't have even done this, but yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just wrap up. If you have any questions, comments, you want to correct us on anything, give us a call. Give us an email at podbefore, PODBEFORE @gmail.com. Where No Pod Has Gone Before on Facebook, on Instagram. Follow us, enjoy us. Keep in touch with us, or don't, And we even have our own channel on YouTube, so Where No Pod Has Gone Before, you can catch up on older episodes, but it's good to be back. Along with that, too, since we're talking about the convention circuit, this next weekend, this is, the 20th? 20th of April. Next weekend, if you're a William Shatner fan, he's going to be at Starfest out here in Denver the next weekend. And also the lovely Nichelle Nichols is going to be there for one of her final appearances before she retires from public appearance.
How old is she now? Do you even know?
Gosh, I don't even know. You could look it up, but I'll talk about her. But
okay,
because we saw her a few years back at Starfest, and she looked great. She, just an important character in the Star Trek canon, just because she's historic, and there were historic references to her. Martin Luther King basically told her not to quit.
Well,
and she wanted to quit back in the day, and that was interesting.
She's 86.
86 years old, yeah. And so she's retiring from the public, I think, after the end of this year. So this is going to be your final time if you live in the Rocky Mountain region to go out and see her. at Starfest. That's coming up April 26th, the weekend of April 26th. So go out and see her and William Shatner. Obviously, they're enjoying the convention circuit. So it's all because of us fans. So whether you're passionate about it or mildly passionate, at least you're passionate. And that's what makes the world go round with science fiction fans. So that might do it right now for another episode of Where No Pod Has Gone Before. Laurie, this was fun. It felt like a half hour.
Was it not a half hour?
No, I think it's almost an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I didn't want to do this, by the way, so be kind.
Yeah, if you want to insult someone, insult me. Don't insult her.
He's used to it.
Yeah.
But I'm a delicate flower.
Well, cool. Until next time, we'll see you guys later. Have a good life.
That was very final.
It's very final.
Enjoy the rest of your life.
Yeah, enjoy your day,
And,
dude.
yeah.
Have fun. A lot of stuff to see out there. And if you're curious about Discovery, see it. Seriously, I think it's worth it. It's worth it because it's got little shorts with it too. Little short episodes,
Right.
Which are awesome.
Kind of fill in just background.
And they have a lot to do.
Yeah.
One of the characters has a lot to do with what goes on in the rest of Discovery. So
Yeah.
I think that's very cool. So a lot of stuff, a lot of material. We'll talk to you next time. And until next time, I was going to have something cool to say, but I don't.
What does the Pike say when he... I don't remember.
Get her done.
Get it done.
I don't know.
Oh, no. I don't think that's what... No, I don't know. Get her done.
Get
Whatever.
her done.
It's so cool that it's left my mind. But,
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you later. Have
Bye-bye.
a good day, everybody.
Kick action.
Media.